This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
Ready? Rock and roll. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the third official episode of Off the Clock Shop Talk. Damn, I can never say that.
You can never.
Off the Clock Shop Talk, or OCST, if you guys are looking for us on YouTube. Just wanted to start off by saying thank you guys for those of you who have subscribed, been paying attention to the last two episodes. I've been getting a lot of feedback just from people, random members, and I really appreciate it. So,
yeah, I want to say thank you too. I mean, keep viewing, keep sharing it with other members so everyone can stay informed.
And that, again, we keep talking about it, but that is really the goal of the show, is to see a more active, informed, I guess active 952. That's the whole goal. So we just want to see everybody real active. Damn, how many times am I going to say active? Anyways.
I think that's a drinking game this week.
Yeah, right. I know we got a surprise special guest today. So that being said, we'll, we're just reminder, put a big screen here, a big, what do they call those things?
You want like a disclaimer?
Nah, one of those big, I don't remember what they're called. Anyways, so just a big reminder, vote. You guys need to vote. All right. I know I'll say it again. I don't care who you vote for. Obviously, I'm wearing the members first shirt, but vote, because the company pays attention. We need to care. We need to care about this shit.
They need to see that all the members are voting. When all the members don't vote, that's when they notice, right? And that's when they start making judgment calls. So make sure you get your vote in either which way. All
right. Well, let's get to it. Our special guest, we'd like to introduce to you the current Secretary-Treasurer for 952, and I am pleased to present to you Eric Jimenez. So introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Well, first off, congratulations, guys, on getting your podcast up and going. You guys are correct. Our members do need to stay informed. They do need to stay educated. That's the best way we can fight corporate America. It's the best way we get contracts. The best way, we stay united as a union. And that being said, like John said, a lot of these companies, if not all of them, pay attention to our vote turnout. They know how many members vote. They know how many members vote in our international elections, how many they vote in contract negotiations, contract ratifications, how many people vote in the presidential election, and companies bank off of us staying in the dark and not getting involved, and that's how they gauge their fight when it comes to a fight with the Teamsters. But, that being said, like John said, my name is Eric Jimenez. I'm the current Secretary-Treasurer of Teamsters Local 952. I've been running the local now for coming up to 3 years, and I'm up for re-election. So like John said, make sure you guys vote. Very, very important. Don't keep that ballot on the table or on the counter. That's your voice. You can't, give concerns or complaints or say your union's not doing its job if you aren't voting and keeping involved. So, don't be one of those Monday morning quarterbacks that, wants to say everything we should be doing but doesn't want to get involved and help us do it. So, like I said, make sure we vote. I came from UPS. I knew John. I came from UPS. Anaheim started in 2000. Became a driver in 2004. I preloaded for a couple years. Became a driver in 2004 and drove all the way until I took over. So I know what it is to be a Teamster. I know what it is to be to work. I know what it is to go through the hot summers, the peak seasons. And as I've, been able to get out to the other accounts that we have, like Albertsons, CVS, OCTA, GKN, I've seen what all our other brothers and sisters do out there, and we do a hell of a job working. We do have a hell of a job keeping this country moving forward. But, been a pro-union guy all my life. My dad was a union man. He was a veteran out of Vietnam. When he came out of Vietnam, he got a union job at a paper company, paper plant. He moved up his ranks. He was an an advocate for his workplace. Ended up becoming the president of his local, not a Teamster, but, he was a paper worker union member, and then they merged with the steel workers, and he was able to retire with a good pension, good health care. He provided for me and my 5 brothers and my mother throughout our lives. So I personally knew what it was to have a union family, to see what a union
That's cool. I didn't know that. You actually, your dad was in the executive board of his union as well?
They're a little different than the way the Teamsters run. And by all means, as Teamsters, we always say we're the biggest, the strongest, and baddest union around. And I know me and my dad argue about that quite a bit. But, nevertheless, he came, like I said, he came out of Vietnam in 71, 72, went to a paper company, which was called Smurfett Stone, right there in Fullerton, right off the 91 and Raymond. Big corrugated cardboard company. He became like I said, an advocate, for his working place. Was a, vice president. Then he took over when the president retired, and he took it over, and he stood there for quite a bit of time. Eventually, until unfortunately his company closed down, they shut the doors. The work was moved to England, like a lot of our American jobs have been. It was moved overseas, and eventually it kind of shut his doors. But yeah, came from a big time union family, and that's where when I decided to go to UPS, my first intention, right, it was just in my blood to make sure that I was proud to be in a union. I was proud to follow the footsteps. I saw what it did for my family. As a kid growing up, I never had to worry about health care. I never had to worry about food on my table. My dad was a union man. My mom was able to take care of her children, and now my dad's loving life with his pension. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where I come from.
Awesome. Well, obviously nice. Obviously, I know you, but I'm sure it's nice to meet you. That being said, I've talked you up on the show. I know the past couple of weeks, just about the direction you're steering the ship, and I kind of wanted to touch on that base. Let you, say your thing. Look, I have always appreciated your backup as a steward, as a member. And there was times, and I'm sure this actually happened a lot. I came out of Tustin Center in Anaheim, but where I felt like I wasn't getting the support that I needed, so I would go talk to Eric right over in College Center. And it happened a couple times, and, I always appreciated him back then, and I appreciated his hard stance on things. But that being said, I'd like to give you a chance just to tell us the direction that you're going. Just where do you see 952, after, let's just say it, after you win this next election, where do you see 952?
Let's take a couple steps back to where we were at 2.5 years ago when we took over. By all means, hey, you know what? I love the Teamsters. It runs in my blood. Teamsters runs in my blood. As we all know, I spend probably more time with my Teamster family than I do with my regular family.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
And
we're
thank
here.
you. Yeah, yeah. And thank you. I thank my family, my friends, and and my loved ones for supporting me in what I like doing, and that's taking care of my brothers and sisters. But like I said, 2.5 years ago, it was sad, and it still hurts me to say it, but Local 952 was kind of the weak link of Southern California. Nobody knew who we were. If they did know who we were, it was always bad stories. It was always we were getting pushed around at our local. Nobody ever heard Local 952 in good terms of like, oh, did you hear the contracts they pulled off, or did you hear they shut down a company, or hey, did you hear they were about to strike? Nothing. It was nothing like that. It was always just from 952. You'd ask members, as a UPS driver, prior to taking over, I would pull up to docks. I'd talk to our Albertsons drivers, ABF, Yellow Freight, CVS, anybody and everybody that would be at a dock, even non-union members. I would talk and I'd say, hey, man, how the Teamster's treating you? Hey, if you're not a Teamster, why don't you join? And they always kind of had this just monotone, like, yeah, I guess we're 952. Even to the point to where some people are like, man, I wish we could be part of a different local. And that didn't sit well with me at all. You know what I mean? I knew we had the possibility to be a strong local. So again, 2.5 years ago when myself and John Green and Danny Herbert and the rest of our team came together to take over this local, we had a lot of goals. We had a lot of promises that we told our members. We told them that we were going to keep our membership involved. We were going to get them more involved. Our stewards going to be more educated. Our contracts, we would fight for them. We would, try to fight for the best contracts we possibly could. We would bring like Local 952 back into the light at Southern California. And, I feel we have, I think, it's undisputed. We've gotten the best contracts Local 952 has ever seen. The best, wages, the best pension increases. And I get it, guys. Hey, people out there saying, well, inflation's up here. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't. 2 years ago when we got the best contract for West Side building material, our Heritage Dairy, contracts they had never seen, language that they had never seen. I mean, for somebody to gauge our success off of, 2 years later, inflation was this high, I don't have a crystal ball. I got to deal with what I got to deal with, and that's negotiations, or for somebody to say, hey, you know what, you got 98% of what the members asked, but that one little thing you didn't get, you're a failure now, that you can't gauge, success, and anybody that doesn't know what negotiations are or what it is to negotiate a contract. It's give and take, and at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself and ultimately give the truth to the members and let them decide if, hey, is that a good enough contract? And they have, over the years they have. But moving forward, what's my plan? What's John's plan? What's Danny's plan? Moving forward is the same thing. Our membership needs to get involved, and that's never going to stop. Over the last couple weeks, and I get it, guys, it's politics, and hopefully it'll disappear, and the hatred and the negativity will disappear, and the crap talking will disappear. But over the years, and I'm pretty sure John, and I don't know if George, you experienced it because I think you left for a little bit, but I've been actively involved in our local since I became a Teamster in 2000. I became a shop steward. Come to every single meeting. I'd send texts out to people to make sure they were coming to meetings, and they were on Wednesday nights at 7:30, the third Wednesday night of 7:30, and you would look out into the hall and or where we were sitting at the local union hall, and there would be maybe 30, 40 people at a union meeting, and 20 of them were the people that worked at the local. There was just no participation. There was no active membership showing up, and that's changed. We promised that. Our meetings now are 100, 150 on a decent day, sometimes 250, 300, 400 when we have big, big issues going, big events going on. And that's massive. Our steward seminars, 100, 150,
I can attest to that.
200 people showing up to our steward seminars. They're not hearing about politicians or who we need to vote for or things that aren't happening with Orange County. We have instructors coming in, whether they're lawyers or whether they're teachers coming in to instruct our stewards on how to better protect our membership at their place of work. And that's huge, and that needs to continue. Our members need to understand that I'm not the union. Eric Jimenez ain't the union. John, Antolin isn't the union as a business agent. John Green as the president isn't, the unions are members.
Yeah, 100%.
And without my army behind me, we're not going to achieve anything. You know what I mean? And people are calling our, us cheerlead, our members cheerleaders for showing up, and they're calling people hype men and all that stuff. But why? Because our members are getting involved. I don't call that cheerleading. I don't call that hype men. I call that power. I call that, activism. I call our members being engaged. And as long as we continue to get engaged, we will, we'll become stronger. But yeah, what we've been doing the last couple of years, we're planning on moving forward, stronger. Like Sean O'Brien says, stronger, faster, harder. We're going to do it. We're going to keep fighting for contracts, and we're going to keep fighting for our membership to get involved. And, there's never going to be a limit, because if we ever put a cap or a limit on how much we can do here, it's time for me to step aside and get somebody else in the seat. But, yeah.
It's something that we actually hit a lot on last week, right, guys, is changing culture. And I think a lot of what Eric was saying is, kind of encapsulated in that. We've had a shitty culture in 952, and we're really, I mean, I know, again, to reiterate, we did talk about a lot of this last week, but just kind of going over it again real quick. George was there. He's been there 18 years. 18 years. I've been there 20, and Eric's been there 22. As a part-timer, we both talked about us not really feeling like they wanted to inform us, right?
Yeah, there wasn't a big need. It felt like they didn't really want to inform anyone. They kind of kept us in the dark, and that's definitely like not the culture that I appreciate for the union. But one of the big selling points is that it was a union job, so there was some job security there. There was like supposed to be a brotherhood, but when I was a part timer, that was non-existent.
Yeah, it was definitely non-existent, and I remember, believe it or not, when I started to pay attention, as a driver in Tustin Center. I kind of got out of the part-time ranks, and I think everybody gets an eye-opener when they move from the part-time ranks to the full-time ranks, whether that be, you got a combo job or whatever. You kind of go from this job to transition to a career, right? And you look at it, and it was eye-opening to me, and I started paying attention, and then I actually remember like thinking like, hey, I should go to the meetings, and not being able to, because I was the type of driver that worked a lot of hours. I did. Yeah. I worked a shit ton of hours. I have a family and whatnot. So I worked a lot of hours, and I remember not being able to go to those meetings. So when Eric had switched them to Wednesdays, it was kind of huge for me. From Wednesdays to Saturdays. That was huge for me, because I remember not being able to go and thinking like 7:00 on a Wednesday night. Like,
I still have like 40 stops left.
I don't know. I'm not even looking to get out of here for another hour and a half. It's going to be over, right? That being said, like, I just, encapsulating everything in changing culture and the stuff that we're doing. Obviously, we talked about it last week and the week before, and I'm going to still hound it, right? We got our meetings going on at UPS Laguna, our Teamster Tuesdays, and we're going to continue doing that, and we're going to bring that to Anaheim. We talked about that, right? That's coming to Anaheim. There's a lot of stuff we have going on, right? But it's all kind of geared towards changing that culture, getting people involved and informed. That's really what we're looking at. And so far, under the administration, under Eric Jimenez and everybody, I mean, we just really have that support as business agents just to really do that.
I agree 100%.
Well, let me touch a little base on, and like John was saying, I don't know if it was a culture of we don't want you to know, or just a culture of we just don't want to do the work to get you guys educated or our members educated. But it was like that. And I'll give you a couple examples, over my, 23-year experience as a Teamster. I've always been active, as a part-timer. I wasn't a steward, but I was always, making sure that our brothers and sisters were getting representation. I had the stewards' numbers on my phone, on speed dial. I mean, Mark Razan and a lot of these guys, I would call them and be like, hey, dude, we've got a supervisor working, or hey, somebody's being talked to at the end of my pen, go help. And, a lot of our members didn't, especially as part-timers, they don't know they have representation. They don't know they have protection. And, but like I said, I don't know if it was really geared at we are trying to keep you uninformed, or geared at we just don't want to do the work to keep you informed. But, like I said, a couple examples. I remember, when I first became a driver, all my drivers, all the drivers knew that, in college at least, knew that I was very active. So I remember something happened with the 9.5 list at one point. We had just gotten the 9.5 list in our language. A couple months later, it wasn't going too smoothly, and Ken Hall had made an adjustment to it to kind of work it out. Well, a lot of the people weren't happy about the adjustment that they gave. And I remember, the guys telling me, like, well, Eric, what's up with this? And the first thing I told them was like, well, you got a beef? You got a gripe? Guess what? There's a meeting on Wednesday at 7:30, and I need you guys to show up, and you guys need to voice your opinion. Well, not as many as I would have liked to have seen, but probably about 10 guys showed up. 10 guys showed up with me, and anywhere from my age at the time, which was probably, 25, 26, 27, 28, all the way to, 35, 40-year-old guys were showing up. And, I remember my business agent, I'm not going to say his name, but I remember a business agent at the time, pulled me aside and said, hey, Eric, why are all the UPSers here? What's going on here? And I informed him, they're a little pissed off about this 9.5 language stuff that's going on, and they just want to ask some questions. And he said, well, why would you bring them here? Why didn't you have a separate meeting? Why didn't you give me a... And I was thinking in my head, like, well, because this is their place to voice their opinion, what I mean? This is their place. If anything, I'd rather have them voice their opinion in our union hall, in our home, than on the shop floor and make it seem like we're divided, you know.
Yeah.
And it was to him it was almost, he insinuated as if I was being disrespectful for bringing them here. I was like, you know, it just blew me away. I was like, man, that's not what we're here for. You know, when me and John, and I don't want to keep saying me, John, Danny, you know, I remember, you know, even prior to us, to us winning, but even after us winning, you know, people would make the comment like, well, you know, if you move them to Saturdays, you're going to have more people show up. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. You know, we want our members to show up. We want people to be active. Well, they may come in, they may badmouth you. It's part of my job, man. You don't step in the kitchen without getting burnt from time to time. And that's it. But, you know, fortunately for us, you know, a lot of our membership's happy. But, you know, I've had people tell me, I've had stewards tell me, you know, prior to me winning, you know, I get it, Eric. You worry about Albertsons and Coke and Pepsi and CVS, but, you know, I only care about UPS. You know, as long as UPS is taken care of, I'm good. And that, you know, that mentality, you know, that needs to go away. You know, the mentality of, hey, I'm a UPSer and I happen to be a Teamster, or I'm an Albertsons person, I happen to be a Teamster. That needs to disappear. We're Teamsters that happen to work at UPS. We're Teamsters that happen to work at Albertsons. Because at the end of the day, you're going to look to every one of your brothers and sisters and make sure that they're there to support you. And like I said, it just goes into kind of what you're saying with, you know, not being educated, almost, you know, feeling like if they didn't want us to. But
Yeah.
you know,
that's how I felt.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, we've actually discussed on the show, you know, just going forward, we do plan on making this a 952 show. This isn't a UPS 952 show. A UPS Teamster show. This is a 952 show, so we are going to have some other business agents, people from other barns. We will make that clear. Obviously, we've had a lot going on lately. You know, contract. You're probably, the show, I mean, in my opinion, is going to probably lean heavy a little on UPS this next coming year.
Just for the time being, yeah.
Yeah, just because of the giant contract that we have coming up. And, you know, at times it's probably going to lean the other way. But right now, we definitely want to make it clear that this isn't just going to be a UPS show. This is a 952 show because we want to see a united 952, just like Eric was saying. And I don't know if you want to touch a little bit on it, Eric, but, you know, there's a lot of shit talking out there, a lot of negativity, a lot of division. And moving forward, you know, let's just say, what is your plan to try to kind of get everybody united? I know it's a big, you know, that's a giant question, right?
But you know, no matter what, you know, there's always going to be somebody that's going to have a something negative to say about us, and you know, I'll be the first to say, you know, there ain't nothing wrong with healthy debate. That's what we're a union. We're a democratic union. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with our members voicing their opinions, with saying, hey, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, they may teach me something. I may teach them something and say, okay, wow, man, I didn't know that. Well, or they may look at me and say, Eric, okay, now you explained it to me. I get it, you know what I mean? But there's always going to be that crowd. There's always going to be that group, no matter what we do, no matter how much we give them, no matter how much we educate them, no matter how good of a job we're doing. It's just going to be negative. You know, if I give somebody $100 in 20s, they're going to say, how dare you give it to me in 20s? I wanted a crisp $100 bill. You know, I get it, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'd want the crisp $100 bill too, but $100 is $100, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the mentality, you know, like I told you earlier, the mentality of, hey, you know what, you got us 98% of what we asked for in a contract, and the one thing you didn't get me, which was like, I wanted to be able to wear jeans on Friday. You didn't get me that. You know, to equate that to a failure contract is just, you know, it's just unfortunate. Some of our members, and not most of our members, 99% of our members, you know, appreciate what this union does. But, you know, moving forward, you know, after this election, you know, our members and the people that are maybe doing the shit talking and maybe, you know, spreading the negative false rumors. I'm not saying the people that are saying, hey, you know, I mean, like I said, there's always room for healthy debate. Nobody's saying don't voice your opinion. But the people that are putting blatant lies out there, blatant misinformation, you know, you just can't go out there and say, oh, yeah, you know what, Eric never goes to work. You just can't make a false accusation like that. You know what I mean? You know, Eric stole or John stole $3 million. They have a house in Switzerland. You just can't make false accusations like that. You know, that does, one, it doesn't do anything to build our union. It doesn't do anything to get the rest of our membership on board. And three, I'll does is give our company the reason to believe that we're just divided.
Yeah.
But moving forward, after this, we all need to start paddling the same way. We need every single member to be on board. And I'm not saying, yeah, you got to wear our shirts, or you got to, show up to every event, or hey, even like Eric Jimenez or John Green or Danny Herbert. But at the end of the day, remember, it's not about Eric Jimenez, it's not about Danny Herbert, it's about the Teamsters Union. And for you, or I would say for some, to hurt our union for personal beef, or just for pure reason of I just want to see a certain couple people fail because I don't like them, it doesn't hurt us as individuals. It doesn't hurt me because somebody individually doesn't like Eric Jimenez. That hurts our union. It hurts us moving forward. And that's just, we can't have that. So, last time around, when we won, we welcomed everybody, and it was tough. I'll be honest, it was tough. Specifically, we had 250 stewards that were accustomed to what they had been taught under the old administration. A lot of them were, pro, old administration. And when we came in, I could have been the guy that said, okay, well, all you guys are done. I'm chopping all heads. I didn't do that because it wasn't the right thing to do. What John's job was, is to go out there and prove, not by words, but by actions, hey, this is how we're moving forward. This is what we're going to start achieving. And now, 3 years later, we probably have...
Honestly, 3 years later, it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Just coming from me, and you bring up the steward thing, I was saddened really as a member, because at the time I was just a member, right? I was saddened as a member to hear about the meetings that took place, after you won, with all the stewards, and a lot of them saying that they all needed to step down, and it's one of the things that woke me up, and it was shocking and saddening to see that these people really weren't here for us. You know what I mean? And a lot of them did stay on, so I won't say that about all of them, but just the fact that they had the meeting kind of saddened me. I'll say it again. I just was like, wow, I can't believe you guys would consider stepping down just because of an administrative change. That being said, look, I really do think you're steering the ship in the right direction. And moving forward, I hope we can continue to see that culture change, and even bring those people in that maybe thought whatever, or maybe held some weird loyalties to things that are in the past, and they serve their purpose and whatnot. But I hope we can all move forward, and that's one thing that we've talked about. I know myself and George have talked about. It's just moving forward, right? Like after the election's over, like we can move forward. We can become a united 952. That's what we want to see. That's what I know our goal is, and I know that Eric feels the same. And we're going to continue to do that. We definitely are going to continue working towards just a more active membership. Definitely
want to work towards a more active membership.
Let's go ahead and move on into our next segment. We kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about the upcoming contract. I know we've been talking about the election, right? Voting, which I do want to reiterate that plays heavy into what the company sees as far as us being involved, right? You vote in your local election and like all the other elections that Eric had mentioned, right? Your delegate election, all those things. The company pays attention to that because they know that plays in also to what you're going to vote as far as the contract. Whether you're paying attention, whether you're active, whether, honestly, like you give a shit. I know I say it a lot within, our Teamster Tuesday meetings. No one's going to care about your contract if you don't. That's just the fact, right? So we kind of wanted to transition right from the election into the contract and voting and getting ready, getting prepared. I know we've talked about this before, but nobody wants a strike, right? I don't want a strike. I know Eric doesn't want to see a strike. At the end of the day, what we want is a good contract. Now, I've talked to other members who, are like, oh, well, we can't handle a strike. We can't do this. We can't do that. At the end of the day, if we aren't willing to stand up and fight for what we get, we're whether it be healthcare, more money, benefits, pension contributions, all this stuff that we're fighting for. If we're not willing to put ourselves on the line and fight for those things, then to be honest, the company is going to recognize that, and they're just going to take it little by little, increment by increment, as they have been, honestly, within, for a while. So I'm not saying that we are going to strike. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we should always be prepared, and we use that as leverage as we move forward, and we move from there. I don't know what your thoughts on are, Eric, if you want to go into it a little bit.
Obviously, we do. We have a big contract coming up. It's probably going to be the biggest since the '97 strike.
Yeah.
Our general president has promised to fight tooth and nail to get us everything we deserve and everything that is entitled to us. This is a company that makes, billions of dollars every year. It's off our back, off our sweat, off our shoulders, off our knees, and we deserve everything. And we're not saying let's put the golden goose, kill the golden goose. No, by all means, I'm not saying that. Let's keep the company profitable, but at the same time, it's us out there that are driving 13, 14 hours a day. It's us out there that have went from delivering small parcel to delivering mattresses, car brakes,
those fucking mattresses are
chairs.
heavy.
Yes, chairs. I
you guys know about those
furniture.
memory foam mattresses?
No, I delivered in
no
Villa
joke.
Park, and anybody that knows about Villa Park, it's just, everybody orders online, and they got some money up there, so, they'll buy full-on patio sets, and I was delivering them. So, we make this company money, you know what I mean? Over the last couple contracts, we've given in a little here and there. We've almost worked with the company, and unfortunately with UPS, when you work with that company and you give in a little bit, you give them an inch and they take a mile, and it's proven. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The feeder language, perfect example. Hey, we're going to go. If we take the work off the rails, we'll promote more feeder drivers, but you have to allow us to use subcontracting. Well, that opened the door to unlimited amount of subcontracting per UPS's belief in what the language states, and we're fighting that tooth and nail, you know what I mean? 224s, you know what I mean? We gave in to a classification where our company was making billions of dollars, and now we have drivers that are making, $7, $8 less than us. Well, common economics, you know what I mean? If they're gonna pay somebody to do a job, why not pay the guy that's making $8, $9 less?
100%.
Just common sense, you know what I mean? And over the years, in 2003, when the grocery chains went on strike and the big grocery strike back in the days, not our truck drivers, but the retail workers, that was the big reason why they went on a fight. One of the big reasons is a two-tier wage system. Members there were getting triple time on holidays. They were getting premiums on Sundays, and they cut all that. Now look what's happening. All those older seniority members of the of that union, they don't work holidays anymore. They get all these young kids that don't make that triple time. They make 50 cents an hour more. Common economic, the UAW, back in the day when they had a battle out with the car companies, it was over two-tier wage systems.
Yeah.
I get it. When a company's hurting, when they need help, the union needs to be there, and we've done that. Over the years, we've had to step up and help the company stay alive, and our members understand that. But you don't keep giving in and getting things taken away or giving takebacks to a company that's making this much money. And when it comes to the strike, John, you're right. The mentality of our members and right, the companies and corporate America have done a great job at brainwashing our members that strike is a bad thing. Strike is they make our members afraid to strike. When a member hears the word strike, it's like, oh my God, how dare you? Like, we can't handle that. That wasn't the way it was back in the days. Back in the days, companies were scared to hear the word strike. We weren't scared of that. We knew that was our tool. We knew that was our way of beating companies back into submission and getting what we needed to get. And, as long as our members are scared to stand up and to, stand at the plate and draw a line in the sand until they're not scared to do that anymore. You know, our companies are going to keep pushing us around. They are, and that's what's happening right now. Is, you know, like anything in life, you know, if somebody comes in to rob your house and steal your family's belongings and their livelihood, you don't say, well, I don't want to hurt the guy that's robbing my house. You know, you do what you got to do. You take care of your family. You know, you do whatever you do by all means necessary to protect your family. Well, that's what companies are doing. And that's what UPS is doing. Is they're trying to take food out of your family's mouth.
Exactly.
They're trying to take, you know, financially, they're trying to rob you, you and your family of what you've done for them. And rather than say, well, I don't know if I want to strike, we should say, hey, you don't do what we ask you, we will walk off the job, because everybody knows 380,000 Teamsters across the country, UPS, we can shut the country down. We have the ability to shut the country down, but we can't be afraid to do it. We can't be afraid to do it. And UPS, I think, if they know we're willing to do it, they're going to crumble, because at the end of the day, they want that money.
Well, when the rubber meets the road, right, when we talk about those, when we get down to brass tacks, at the end of the day, that's really our final recourse, right? If the company has drawn a line in the sand, they don't want to give us any more, and we are tired of taking concessions and whatnot and giving in and losing, right? When we've come to that impasse, what do we have? What do we have? We have the ability to withhold our labor, which is, you know, what makes us our living. We have the ability to shut the company down and to really make them think, look, your profits are on our back. To remind them real quick, just, hey, your profits are off our back. So unless we're there to put that, you know, that labor in, then what do you have? We are that cog in the machine that keeps it going. We're the motor, right? Basically. Yeah. So, you know, that being said, I hope we can do as much as we can to remove the fear from that word strike, because at the end of the day, these companies are coming in to take food out of your kid's mouth, out of my kid's mouth. They are coming in to take what you've earned, right? For profits, for their bottom line.
That's literally all it's about.
Yeah, and just to educate, like I said, because education is always good, and a lot of our members don't know, how a strike works or how our international constitution works, how our bylaws work. There's a chain of command, guys. There's a process we have to follow as a union. And I know there's some people out there saying, "Oh, Eric just wants to strike. Eric's gonna, no matter what we do, he wants to take us out of strike." I mean, I don't have that power. That's just farthest from the truth. When it comes to striking a company, first off, our job is to provide you with the best contract that we possibly can without going on the streets. And we will do everything we can before going on the streets. We will talk to politicians. We will do actions. We will talk to companies. We will go to the public. We will go to anything and everything we can to get a contract prior to hitting those streets. We will. And that's my job. That's my job. But it's also my job to be up forward and be truthful with you and tell you, well, yeah, this is a great contract, best we're going to get. Yeah, you should probably vote it in. Or no, it's not good enough. It's not what we want. They're by far shorting us on a lot of things that we're asking for. We need to vote for a strike. And that's part of the process, is you, even after I give you that recommendation or not recommending it, you as a member, the members still have to vote and say, well, yes, we want to strike. We want to strike. I don't get to make that choice. Well, hey, 90% of the members don't want to strike, but Eric's just hard on for the company. We're striking. I don't have that ability. Sean doesn't have that ability. Sean O'Brien, our general president. John Green doesn't have that ability. Danny Herbert doesn't have that ability. We don't have that ability. We give that ability to the members and recommend to them and tell them what the truth is. And then they themselves say, okay, yeah, we'll give you the authorization to strike or not to strike. If our members feel strongly that they don't want to strike, they'll vote. We don't want to strike, and it's happened. If they feel strongly that, hey, we support the union 100%, we trust you, we're giving you that weapon, we're giving you that tool, that leverage of a strike to get us a better contract, then the members vote on that. That's what the members vote on. And until they vote on that, we can't just take them on strike. You know what I mean? In that case, there's a lot of employers I hate from the beginning, right? I mean, I'll tell you right now, I walk into the table and I already know I hate the son of a bitch. But I can't just strike them because I want to strike them. That's not my job. It's not in the best interest of myself.
And that's honestly, I actually get that question sometimes from, I have my people on one end, my members that are completely against a strike, that think they can't handle it. And then I do have the members on the other end that are like, why aren't we doing it now? Let's strike them right now. I'm like, fucking hey, dude.
Like the polar opposite.
Take a breather real quick. I promise you, I don't fucking agree with what they're doing right now, but we can't just go on strike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, we get it from both ends, obviously.
Oh, no doubt.
You can't make everybody happy, but at the end of the day, look, that power is our power, like Eric said. We get the chance to vote on it, and it's got to be approved by us before anybody can even think about a strike. And I mean us, meaning all of you, all the members, right? The members of 952, the members of the international, when we talk about, going on a national strike, those things are things that we have to vote on. Nobody can make those decisions for us. We end up making them as members.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ultimately up to the membership. So, like I said, if anybody's out there telling the members, oh, Eric's just going to take us on strike, it just doesn't work that way. That's, people trying to scare and to misinform the uneducated members that we have out there. And unfortunately, it's just not the way we should be going. If anything, we should be educating our membership. And some of these people out there that are telling them, hey, Eric just wants to go on strike, they know the process. They've been here 20, 30 years. They've been Teamsters. They know we have to vote on it. They know we have to get authorization from the membership. They've been through UPS contracts where we've had strike votes before. They've seen other companies have strike votes before. But, farthest from the truth, again, it's your choice. You'll have the opportunity to vote if you want to strike or not. But again, like John has been saying, and George has been saying, the word strike can't be something that we fear. It has to be something the company fears. And until we get that mentality, until we become militant to where it's, hey, our union asks us to walk, it must be for a good reason, let's walk. And until we are all sitting on the same page, we're always going to have a kink in that chain, and the companies in corporate America will find that weak link. They'll find the weak link, and they'll wonder, they'll keep stabbing at it and hammering on that weak link until we break, until we falter. So nobody wants to strike, but at the end of the day, hey, I'll tell you right now, company comes after my family, company comes after my members, company comes after their families. I'm going to do everything I can, including standing on a picket line and the other Teamster things that we like to do.
That's right. Anything else you want to talk about strike-wise before we move on?
I think the only question I have is just, I know Carol Tomei said she has contingency plans. What possible contingency plans could she have for having 380,000 members walking off the job?
Well, I don't know about what you think, but I actually think that going to play right into our next segment, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And we did want to talk about PVDs, right? Us as UPS drivers, we're rolling right into peak. Peak starts in October, right, as far as the language is concerned, and would give the company the right to use PVDs, right? Personal vehicle drivers. We've all talked about them. And in my opinion, now, I don't have a crystal ball either, but in my opinion, I think that's where they would be looking as far as contingency plans, right? You can't replace the drivers, right? I mean, for efficiency, for knowledge, area knowledge, there's so much that goes into driving. I know, I have personal friends and even family members that are like, oh, well, you drive a truck and you deliver a box. Like, oh, what's the, what's the big deal? And I'm like,
yeah, it sounds easy when you put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But, that being said, I think moving forward, the company's kind of shown that they can get people to line up out the door if they offer them $25 an hour and no benefits, right? So I would assume that that's probably the route they're going, the same route that Amazon goes as far as their gig jobs and their, what do you call those? Their owner-operator type deals, right, where they just subcontract everything. They just subcontract everything. That's what I would think what she's referring to as contingency plans. But, as we talk about PVDs and the usage of those, I don't know I think we can all address it at our own level, right? I'm no longer in the warehouse, but, I was 9 months ago, but George is there every day. Can you tell us the issues that you deal with on a daily basis, with PVDs?
Oh, geez. The biggest deal I feel like is they work damn near more hours. Some of them work more hours than I would. Like I would work my 8, and sometimes I get a little lucky and I get like 9 during peak. And then we have PVD drivers that are working 11, 12 hours, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. And just so you know, as I know we've actually talked about it in the Teamster Tuesdays, but going forward, just so you know, the position of the local really is that the PVDs, they should not be working more hours than you. As far as if you're a regular employee in RPCD at 22.4, PVDs are technically full-time drivers, but at the bottom of the barrel, right? So they shouldn't be getting more hours than you. All those days should be filed on individually. If you have a day where a PVD works more than you, obviously it's going to be by seniority. But if there's a couple positions that we would be filing grievances on. If they're working more hours than you, if they're pulling your route and a PVD is doing it, then we probably need to know about it.
Definitely if they're pulling your route and a PVD's doing it.
Anything else?
I mean, that's kind of like the biggest issue is they strip the work from your route and they give you your 8, granted. But the PVD still shouldn't be taking like all the juiciest parts of my day. And then also working 12 hours. I mean, that's ludicrous. Like, they leave me all of my garbage. They give him the juice and he's in a car. So yes, they literally have to meet up with a U-Haul truck. The U-Haul truck is the juiciest, I guess, thing ever. He sits in a park and he reloads the little cars.
I've heard some horror stories. I mean, granted, it's funny because that's an easy day, but at the end of the day, the drivers want to do their work, and it's crazy to think, but at the end of the day, they just want to do their job and go home, right? And they're getting these. It seems easy. They're easy enough. They drive a U-Haul around and give all their work away, which is sad.
But it's also, we want to make sure our customers are serviced right. And that was one of the other issues is that a lot of my customers, if they would catch me en route, they'd be like, who left the package here? It'd be like in a horrible place where they shouldn't have put it. And it's because the PVD drivers don't know any better.
They're like Amazon drivers.
It's almost like Amazon.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. So from, you've heard the perspective, right, of a shop steward and myself as a business agent, even though I'm not operating in that capacity, but you hear my position as far as we need to file on those. And we're going to, and I think we touched on it last week. The case for last year's PVDs is at the West next week, actually. Probably when you're hearing this, I will be at the West, actually, in 2 weeks. So when you're hearing this, the following week, I will be at the West and putting on the case for the PVDs working more hours than the drivers. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. But I'm kind of interested in the perspective of you as an ST, and you deal with things at a national level, right? And all everything that goes on. What have you been hearing about PVDs and usage and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, well, to understand PVDs, guys, and John, you've been there just about as long as I have, but to understand PVDs and where a lot of the stuff, driver helpers, PVDs, seasonal drivers, you kind of got to understand some of the history of it now. And I'll give you, when I first started driving back in 2004, I think it was my first peak or two. I remember I had about 120 stops, on an all-resi route. I was done by 1:30, and I remember calling in and saying, it was Christmas Eve, and I'm like, hey, I called the manager, and hey, I'm done. And they're like, you need to go down the street. I was in Orange. You need to go down the street and pick up 15 stops off this driver. And I was a young buck, dude, so I'm like, what, man? Like, why did I finish my route? If I knew I was going to go help somebody. I mean, well, nevertheless,
I love those days.
I met the driver down the street. I took 15 stops from him. We were both in by probably 2:30, 3 o'clock at the latest. Yeah. And for me, that was the end of the world. Oh, man, I could have been home at 1:30, 3 o'clock, Little did I know, 3-4 years later, that was all going to end. You know what I mean? Those routes, at those times, we were shit, in College Center, we were running 110, 115 routes a day. You know, a heavy day for an all-resi route was 130 stops. Wow. A heavy day for a business route was, you know, 75, 80 stops. If you were doing 90 business stops, oh, dude, it was like, how dare you? And you know,
90 business stops is a lot of fucking business stops.
That's still a lot.
And the machine was running well. The machine was running perfectly. You know, the company didn't care so much about, hey, how many routes. They were like, let's just service the customer. Let's get our members.
We were still getting turkeys back then.
Yeah, we were still getting turkeys.
The turkeys.
You know, we were still getting Christmas dinners. You know what I mean? I'm not talking, you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken with biscuits. I'm talking we were getting, you know, but that was when the company actually, you know, really cared. It was, you know, I got what I like to say, and some of the drivers say, I got the last couple years of the good, you know, UPS, where you would refer people to go work for them. Yeah. But, you know, like I said, the history of this was, you know, we used to have 110, 115, you know, routes out in the streets. We'd all get in, you know what I mean? Shit, 5:30, 6 o'clock was normal for us. If you stood out till 7 o'clock, you know what I mean? It was like, whoa, what happened, you know?
Yeah. Or you really wanted the hours.
The guy must have broke down, you know? Well, as you move forward, and especially when the recession hit, you know, the company went into, you know, panic mode and started cutting routes, and for the most part, the drivers, you know, because we are, you know, UPSers are proud, you know, they're proud to do their job. They're proud to you know, say, hey, we do this job, you know what I mean? But that being said, you know, in 2008, you know, the company, you know, the recession kind of opened the eyes of the company of like, hey, we can get the same amount of work done, but on less drivers, as long as we force them and coerce them and put fear into them and ride them into doing that much work.
Harass the shit out of them?
Harass the shit out of them. And you know, as a matter of fact, I was just talking to a feeder driver out there, you know, out at the yard a day or two ago, and I remember I was telling him, me and him were laughing and shooting the shit, and he says, hey, you know, I'm like, remember I ran your route for like the first time? Dude, I thought I was going to die on it. Dude, I was like, man, I'm blind, dude. He delivers the horse trails. I mean, his route was 125 stops. First time on it, blew it out. I took my 2 breaks, took my lunch. They covered my pickups. I got in early, dude, because I was done. So I was like, man, you know, that was in 2003, 2004. 5 years later, his route was running from 190 to 210, but you had to get it done in an hour less amount of time per their calculation. Yeah. And your breaks and your lunches were gone if you wanted to try getting it done. And that's what UPS did to us. So like I said, moving forward, you know, our drivers they were fed up. They were tired of sitting out there. I mean, you know, you talk to some of the drivers, you know, my age, you know, I'm 40, but, you know, in my, you know, progression where we came up, it wasn't uncommon to go do your route, you know, drop your reds, go do an extra 15 stops, get in at 7:38, and then say, hey, dude, there's another 30 stops at the end of Pen 2. Go get an empty truck or an empty van and
grab these misloads.
And you're like, what? Dude, it's 8:30. How can you possibly be sending me out? Like, who allows 30 stops to sit still? And they would be like, go take it out, Eric. And us guys would take it out, and then we'd come in and, you know, say that was a Friday night. We'd come in and we'd get a message. It's like, hey, you got 2.25 hours left. You need to be in here for Saturday air tomorrow. You know what I mean? And we would be like, you know, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. You know what I mean? Yep. It wasn't. I'm not. Guys, dude, I'm not lying. You know, I mean, hopefully he doesn't get mad for me saying his name, but you can ask Jairo Carmona. You know, in College Center, me and him went through it. You know, I mean, we'd come in, we'd be like, man, are you serious? You know, you have 30 stops at 8:30. Like, you know, I mean, it was uncommon for people to be calling us at 10:30 at night, 11 o'clock at night, saying, you have 15 minutes to get into the building. Get in, hurry, get in. You have to clock out. And we'd be like, what? So, you know, I think over the course of time, drivers got, you know, upset for staying out late, you know, especially the older seniority drivers that had been used to coming in at 5:30, 6 o'clock, had been used to
huge transition.
Yeah, that's a whole shift change in the whole dynamic of the job.
These guys added 4 hours to my day.
And for the older guys, like I said, the senior guys, these guys had been used to coming in at 1:30, 2 o'clock on Christmas Eve and going to see their families. And now it was like, dude,
that shit was like, unheard of, dude.
Like now we, as UPS, we look at it like, we don't get Christmas Eve anymore. Yeah. Like, so when the PVDs and the more driver helpers came on, as much as we saw it as as kind of like a savior mechanism for us to get home early, and yeah, I mean, by all means, who wouldn't be like, man, dude, like, I have 230 stops. Okay, well, I gave the PVD 60 of them. So, yeah, dude, I'm going to get home. But little did we know is we were giving our work away.
Giving the work away.
We were slowly but surely, bleeding ourselves little by little. And
Giving the company really a blueprint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
giving a
Take
blueprint.
The company's like, oh.
And, I know some drivers will be like, well, Eric, and guys, remember, I was on your truck 2.5 years ago. I did my last peak 2.5 years ago. You know what I mean? So I know what it is. I know what it is to stay out there late. I've done that work. But, some drivers will say, well, Eric, you don't know what it is to have to stay out late all the time. No, I do. But at the same time, I'm not saying that the solution is shut your mouth and do all the work and stay out till 10 o'clock. No, the solution is there was a time when UPS didn't constantly care about the bottom dollar.
Where
and
it
they
worked.
Put routes on there. We would put extra routes because John needed to get off to go see his kid's baseball game. We put routes on because we knew it was the right thing to do, not to keep people out during Halloween when kids were walking around. We put routes on the road.
I've been out during a Halloween like that.
Yeah.
So have
And I work in Laguna. There's no street lights out there. It's terrifying.
Yeah, if you ask our dispatchers, go ask any seasoned dispatcher. Let me rephrase that, because now you got the college kids that just come in and they think they know what it is. Yeah. But like I said, you ask any seasoned dispatcher, that's been in the company for 25, 30 plus years, they'll tell you, yeah, no shit, we used to run 30 more routes than what we're running now in centers. And it was because it was the right thing to do. So, the PVDs, we've kind of, like I said, for ourselves, per the contract and trying to believe that we were saving ourselves, we allow that stuff in here. But, like I said, it has, it's almost a blueprint. You think like, hey, how can, did we set the company up for success if we ever walk out? Now, yeah, to an extent, but I'll tell you right now, and I'll give, UPSers, I give them high credit. I give them, they're the top of the food chain, man. I was there. It's not anybody can just do our job. Like you guys were saying earlier. I
agree.
It's not. Oh, I walk out, I grab the handrail, I walk out, and I say, hi, Mrs. Johnston, how's little Susie doing? And hey, how's little Rocco the dog doing? You doing good? No, we don't do that. It's literally like, okay, our job is demanding.
Grab this fucking memory foam mattress.
And when you're
a barbecue that's falling apart.
And when you're in the back of a 110 degree, 120 degree truck, and you can't find that little package of
envelope
eye
that's under a
contacts
box
because it's supposed to be on the 6,000 shelf, but somebody threw it on the 8. I mean, dude, if you let it will beat you down. Dude, you will get frustrated. You will start kicking boxes, you know what I mean, dude? I mean, you will get frustrated and it beats you down, you know what I mean?
It's funny you mentioned the seasons, dude. I actually, during winter, you're like, I love the weather, right? Cooler during the day.
Oh, it's great.
But it's getting dark at like 4:30.
Yeah.
As soon as you before you drop your reds, right? It's getting dark and you're like, shit, dude.
Yeah.
If you're anywhere where there's no street lights, there's not, lit up addresses. I've been there. And then so you're like, oh, I can't wait for summer. And then summer starts, spring starts rolling around and it starts getting later.
Traffic's busy.
The light gets, stays out a little longer. And you're like, yeah, it's freaking sunny till 7:30. And then here comes the freaking summer heat. And you're like, fuck, it's
and you're
110.
like, wow. But like you're saying, to be a UPSer, it's not just physically, demanding, it's mentally demanding.
It's mentally demanding.
It's definitely, it calls for, for a lot of mental strength to do our job. But, to what I was saying earlier, you know what I mean? With the PVDs, don't let the company totally pull the wool over your eyes. You know what I mean? Those PVDs go out with 40 stops. They take 8.5, 9 hours to do their job. They can't fit huge boxes in their truck.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing I'm concerned about. Is like how are they going to run like a million PVDs? What are they doing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Your business can't be ran by, like you're saying, a million PVDs.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, you've kind of done that, but I mean, really, it's like that's a Band-Aid to your issue. You know what I mean?
But I mean, you also have to imagine not all those PVDs are going to stay for that season.
Yeah. And
right?
nobody's going to replace 380,000 drivers if they walk, and part-timers if they walk, especially if you're having to drive through a picket line with 380,000 pissed off Teamsters to go get your packages. You know what I mean? It's just not, you know what I mean? So
I think, and this is just my opinion, right? I think the company looks at the PVDs like we look at the strike fund, right? I think they look at it as just a means to just hold out that much longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really what I think. And I have always said, and even as a member before, I have always said, like, you know, we have to use our leverage while we have it. And now, does that mean go on strike? No, but that means address situations with the possibility of a strike if that's what happens, right? And you just kind of, I saw, as a member, I watched like technology coming and I paid attention, and I've always felt like in some aspects we've been behind the ball as far as like we play the short game, right? We're only looking at short-term stuff. And I think we as members even tend to do that ourselves. We just look short-term, just at the money this time, or just at the healthcare this time, and don't look 10 years down the road and what the company's doing, because I promise you the company is looking.
They're playing the long game.
Oh yeah.
They're
playing the
definitely
long game.
looking long term. So it's something that when we see these things coming, and, you know, obviously I really do feel like we have some good people at the upper echelon of the Teamsters now that are kind of looking at those things, technology and all this stuff, and really understand that we need to use our leverage while we have it to address situations that possibly could be in the future.
Yeah, and you know, that's a good point. You know, and just goes back to kind of being militant and trusting your union, and not giving the wrong information to our members out there. More along the lines, educating our membership. Like, you know, Sean O'Brien is now the general president, and he's asking us to be more militant. You know, there was a time that Teamsters were militant Teamsters, and, you know, things have changed over the years, but, you know, I think we can get back to those days. And we're not asking, you know, to go beat people up or anything like that. You know, we're just asking, you know, follow the direction of your union. And the reason why I'm talking about,
I'd like to go beat people up, but yeah,
you know, imagine if we, you know, a couple months ago we asked our, you know, it was a national, you know, action. Everybody join the 9-5 list. But even if you're not, sign that you're not going to sign. But, you know, imagine if every single one of our members put their name on the 9-5 list. Now, I get it. You know, wow, that's my money. You're trying to take my livelihood, isn't that? But imagine if every single member put their name on the 9-5 list. Every single member took their 2 15-minute breaks, and every single member took their lunch. Do you know how many jobs that would create?
Or every single member stopped running.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
You know who you are.
You know, I mean, trust me. I'm not.
There's a lot of those.
I'm not going to say anything. You know, I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen. Hey, dude, I've been there. I've done that, dude. I was there.
Got to get home, whatever.
Yeah, when I was a young kid, I just wanted to be able to go out to my friend's birthday party.
Go have a beer after work.
Or, you know, when, you know,
Your knees will hate you later.
When it was,
they do.
Yeah, when it was later on in life, you know, it was like, hey, man, I just want to make it home to go be there for my wife's birthday. Or, hey, you know, dude, I want to go see my family member. Or, dude, I just want to get home and sleep, you know, for, you know, get some energy. But, you know, imagine, you know, if we all scaled back, you know, everybody knows 340 methods, which most of our supervisors out there have no clue what they are. But imagine if we actually used what they teach us against them. Okay.
The entire 340, not just the ones they want to write you up for.
You want me to do 340 methods? Okay, I'll do it. You want me to take my 215 meg? Okay, I'll do it. You want me to take my lunch? I'll do it. And guess what? I don't want to work more than 9.5 hours. You know what I mean? Which a lot of our members need to understand, that we should never put ourselves in a position of, I bank my lifestyle off of overtime, because our contract only calls for 8 hours. Now, in UPS, we know that'll never happen, just 8 hours.
In California, that's tough.
Yeah, you know, that it's definitely tough. But imagine, you know, if we did what our union asked us to do, just as a sign of, you know, a sign of unity, or a sign of, you know, militancy, you know, this company would be screwed. And you know, there ain't no way PVDs are going to be able to handle that work. You know what I mean? There ain't no way. It would force this company to put more jobs on the road, to force more combo jobs, to force them to put, you know, more drivers on the road. And, you know, trust me, when you're making $13 billion a year, I don't think you have an issue with putting a couple more drivers on the road. And that's just it is. And I don't think we're planning on seeing, you know, UPS fall in profits anytime soon, because, I mean, as you see, dude, major companies are going down the drain and turn into online only. Sears, you know what I mean? Bed Bath & Beyond. All these people are like, hey, no, we're not closing our doors. We're just online only now.
Yeah.
That's the way of the world. And guess who?
Instant gratification.
Yeah. Who's the person that's going to deliver those
Well, it's easier to do that.
The
Yeah.
cute man and the cute woman in brown socks and brown shorts. You know,
That's right.
So, yeah. So.
Oh gosh. All right. I mean, honestly, I feel like we have a lot to chew on with this segment. We've gone over, not a lot of topics, but just some meaty ones, right? So
Definitely meaty.
We got a lot in here. We don't want to drag it on, but I do want to, do the 1950s bulletin. Beep, 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 beep,
You can throw that in
State
there.
of the Union, right? We want to do a state of our local. Just give Eric Jimenez, the Secretary Treasurer, just a second to talk about where we're at, right? Where we're at as a local, where we're going, what we're doing, just to wrap it up. So, Eric?
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, thank you guys for having me on, your podcast. Again, congratulations for getting it off the ground. I think it is very important that our members stay educated. And obviously, in this day and age, it's a little different on how we get information out there. We still got our membership that likes to be hand-billed and likes to get their papers in the mail and all that stuff. But, everything's turned into technology and a message, an ask, information, can all be sent out, on a click of a button now. I mean, we have, handheld computers in our hand, which is our cell phones. But, nice job on this, keep moving forward with it, keep getting the, the membership involved. I encourage anybody that listens to this to ask people to get, encourage them to get involved, encourage them to subscribe, come to our, general membership
Thanks
meetings.
for the plug.
Yeah. Yeah. Come to the general membership meetings, which is, the third Saturday of every month. Our first meeting will be coming up after the summer break. Will be October 22nd. October 22nd at 10 a.m. It'll be a
Halloween.
a little Halloween general membership meeting. Bring your kids. We're going to be passing out candy. We're going to be raffling off a pretty big pumpkin. You'll have to guess the weight. But, that being said, like I said, nice job on you guys, trying to educate the members, and thinking outside of the box. But, to the state of, of our local union, let's think about this. Like I said, when myself, John Green, Danny Herbert, Al Burgess, our recording secretary, and then our three trustees, Sean Munson, Alizar Baltazar, and Keith Barton, took over 2.5 years ago. We laid out a plan, and that was getting our members more involved. That was representing our members, making sure our members saw our business agents more, saw our leadership more. That was making sure that the companies knew that the Teamsters were back, that we were around to protect our members. And we've done that, a lot. If I'm confident when I say, 90% to even more of our goals have been achieved. I mean, just look at in front. You know what I mean? You come to our membership meetings, and it's just an eye opener. You see people from all walks of life coming into our local now, and it's not just mostly UPSers or mostly Albertsons guys. We got UPS, Albertsons, CVS, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, school bus, OCTA, people that have never showed up to a union meeting before. And the big difference is we're not saying, hey, UPSers, you sit in that corner, Albertsons, you sit in this corner, CVS, you sit in that corner. We're all talking amongst each other. We're all talking about our workplace. We're all learning from each other. Albertsons is learning from CVS. CVS is learning from Albertsons. Our UPSers are going out and having a beer with our Albertsons guys. Our school bus is talking to our OCTA bus drivers. They're learning from each other, and that's what we set out to do. Contractually, again, I know we'll have the naysayers, but if you compare what our contracts were prior to us coming into office compared to what we're getting now, it's day and night. The best pension, increases, best wages, best language changes. You know what I mean? When I say language changes, rules, work rules, the way the contract reads in regards to protecting our members from seniority and all that kind of stuff, bidding processes, that's above and beyond. I mean, we've crushed it. You know what I mean? It's just, our local being, a blip on the national screen now. I mean, how many times has the general president sat, here at this local. You know what I mean?
Kinda crazy.
And more than 5 times, you know what I mean? He walks around here like he knows everybody personally, and he does. He does. But it's not like, oh, yeah, here's the general president. It's like, when he walks in here, it's like having one of our best friends here, you know what I mean? And, not to toot 952's horn, but, that's what we've accomplished here. But, what I want to say is it's not an accomplishment by Eric Jimenez. It's not an accomplishment by John Green or Danny Herbert or our business agents. This is an accomplishment as a team, as a whole. Our local, our leadership team, our BAs, our membership, we've all come together, and when one achieves, we all achieve. When one fails, we all fail, and that's what it is. So when I achieve, I'm achieving because the membership has helped me achieve that.
That's right.
When we, are noticed nationally, like we were recently when they said, hey, Eric Jimenez is going to be on the national negotiating table, sitting, that was achieved because leaders from across the country, members from across the country were like, hey, do you see everything Local 952 is doing over there? Do you see, the grievance they just won in Kentucky where it was $38,000 that, it took a year and a half, but they never gave up. They never stopped fighting, and they finally achieved it. Like, did you hear about that? That's all stuff that we achieved together. So we're moving forward. We're a hell of a lot better than we were 2.5 years ago. What happened under the old administration, hey, we'll leave it there. They did their thing. They had their time, and they did what they did, and we'll leave there. But moving forward, everything we've done has been a huge plus. And our members need to start getting involved. We need to start seeing more, especially like you guys said, UPS coming up for contract. 1,800 members here in our local, 1,900 members, UPS members. We should be seeing 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 UPS members coming to our proposal meetings, coming to our rallies, coming to, the Teamster Tuesdays at Laguna. We should see, 100, 200 people, because that shows unity, and that's something we've been trying to build here for quite some time now, and I think we're moving, and I think if we do, or when we win this next election, so I'm confident our members will vote based off of achievements and action rather than just words and negativity. But I think moving forward, once we win, it's, guess what? It's not like, oh, well, we can slow down. No, hell no. Put more wood in that fire. Let's build some more steam, and let's keep pushing forward. Let's go faster than ever. Let's keep moving forward, because at the end of the day, we need to leave this local as a legacy for the future members coming up. I ain't going to be here forever. I don't want to be here forever. You know what I mean? I want to retire. I want to go fishing. I want to go snowboarding. I want to hang out with the family. But to who comes next, I want to leave them in good hands. And, I think we're doing that, and, we got a hell of a team here, from the leadership team to our business agents, to our office staff, the ladies that work here, to our stewards, and to our membership. We got a hell of a team. We got a hell of a local. And I think we're unstoppable as long as we can stay united, as long as we can stay above the murky water, stay above the mudslinging, you know what I mean? And, hopefully at some point, everybody will just come to realize that, hey, there ain't no plus side to dividing the union. It's only bad if we divide. We need to move forward together, you know what I mean? So, but thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you to all the members out there that do, their job every day, and, make the Teamsters, union proud, and to make, the country understand that without Teamsters, this country ain't nothing.
Well said.
Well said.
Anything?
Yeah.
You got anything before we close?
I think we're good.
Just thank you guys again. We appreciate you guys subscribing, liking, all that stuff. Smash that like button, as they say. But a couple things on the bulletin, right? I just wanted to, right before we close, proposal meetings, right? We talked about the contract. Proposal meetings for 952 for UPS is going to be the 29th and 30th of October, 9 to 12. So we already have those times set. We'll kind of give a general schedule. So keep an eye out. Be paying attention. I hope to see you guys all at Teamster Tuesday next week. It's going to be next week because it's every week, right? I expect to see you guys there in Laguna. And then Teamster Thursdays coming in, eventually to Anaheim on Thursdays. So we just thank you guys again. We appreciate you. And that's it for OCST.
That's it.
Thank you.